it off air.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
So last week, did you guys just kind of read each question and then answer and kind of go from there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do that then. So question 1 says, from your personal experience, what have been key behaviors in effective teams? Anyone want to start off?
You said what are key behaviors in effective teams?
Yeah, it's the questions that went along with the Google,
Yeah.
what Google learned.
Well, in my experience, effective teams is, well, I think the most effective teams I've been in is where everyone is taking initiative and, putting their best effort forward. There's not like one person that's necessarily leading it. There might be one that's leading it more, but everyone's making a conscious effort to be as productive as possible.
That's a good point.
Sorry, I just have my notes. So I mentioned. Can I say? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I just thought that communication and understanding was something that has to be, I guess, that is effective in a team from what I have seen before. And also respect. I don't know. I thought those 3 were good: communication, understanding, and respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. I think that there needs to also be a high level of trust to make it a safe place for people to feel comfortable expressing questions and learning from each other and kind of just going from that. And in my experience, it's less hierarchical. It's not like the boss who then tells all his little minions what to do. Well, there is someone that's generally like in charge. I think, like Logan was saying, it's not necessarily as obvious.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
I wrote down that I guess depending on your job, that everybody acts mature. My whole job is women, and so there's just so much drama and immaturity about the littlest things that
Yes.
that's just what really stood out to me when answering these questions is maturity.
Yeah. There's a really cool book about drama that I read when I first started my new job, and it's by an author called Cy Wakeman, who's actually from Nebraska. Who knew? And she talks about drama in the workplace and what it does to the work environment. And she says, like, an employee can spend 2.5 hours a day in drama if they don't manage it.
Wow.
If there's not an environment that manages drama and tries to keep drama down. And so they spend a majority, a third of their workday in drama, like gossiping, talking behind someone else's back, in their mind, not even working, not quitting every day, all this other kind of stuff. So she studies drama in the workplace and what effect it has on morale and productivity and all these other kind of things. So it's kind of an interesting read.
Yeah. I don't even think I could participate in that study just because I'm so black and white. If you're being a turd, then I'm going to call you out on that.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to work there sometimes. Okay. Anyway, question 2. I'll kind of start with that was kind of a big chunk of question 2, so I'll go in sections. What do group norms have to do with effective team building? I think this really played in with the article too that we read. I can start out. I said there's always a team leader, And in the reading I copied, norms override individual productiveness and encourage difference to the team. So what I got from that was that everybody's different abilities can really make or break a team depending on how they're incorporated into that team.
Yeah.
Sounds fair.
I have that they can heavily influence how teams work. If norms do not support mutual respect, but are more in favor for jockeying for power, it will not create a space where people feel safe to share thoughts, or they will avoid collaboration. Like you don't want. I have this person at work right now who I just hate working with. I cannot stand her. And the norm of our group, this team that we work on, is it's kind of a cross-functional. It's not my day job. It's something else I do. And she doesn't pull her weight, or she'll commit to do something and not do it, or just if it gets inconvenient for her, then she suddenly has a reason not to. And I ran into this whole experience with her doing that, and I just don't enjoy working with her. So I legitimately do not share thoughts and feelings with her, and I avoid collaboration. I don't want to have anything to do with her because of a situation where we don't ask people to invest time correctly, and the workload gets out of balance. So, oh gosh.
True.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week with like the work culture and how people react to being in those different kinds of cultures.
Yeah.
I guess something I mentioned was that group norms can help a team set goals and expectations. These can also help establish a ground or solid base for the team to know how to operate effectively. Knowing what is expected of each team member can help any conversation in the team go smoothly. Everyone around it can support one another, at the same time disagree on something but still have respect for one another. And I have I guess I've run into issues before in my previous jobs where like someone would be not doing anything, or like acting like they were doing something but they were doing something that they were not supposed to in the workplace, and then putting more work on those of us who were doing the job. But I guess, as you learn as you go. And I got tired of it, and I talked to the manager. I said like, hey, listen, like, I would like to see a change in the team, but like I also spoke to my coworkers who were doing the job so that we could all agree that something had to change, and that way the manager knew that we wanted to see it happen, not just talk about it and let it, slide by. Um, and then some things change, which made me happy because I was like, okay, that's better than nothing. So I don't know. I think that knowing what to expect, or like what the goals are as a team, can help everything else.
Yeah, I agree. I think that goes right into our next little question of what would you say your current group norms include? And Diana, you said having those expectations really help, with all of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that mutual respect, well, in my work experience, working with smaller teams, it's mutual respect for each other and like valuing each other's input. That's what I see in my most recent groups.
That's good.
Yeah. I agree. Sorry, go ahead. You go.
Oh, I was just gonna ask the next question. If not, it could be changed, but I don't think really anything could be changed right now because it's only our second meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, think we're good.
Do we want to like, I kind of wrote that I don't know if we know each other or we work long enough to have norms.
Yeah.
Are there rules that we would like to establish as norms? Because some of these can be spoken and then we can see how things go. I think there's a point that Logan made about mutual respect and respecting each other's time and comments. And if we don't agree, to disagree respectfully.
Yeah.
And then is there like anything else does anyone else have any like hot spots of things that like drive you crazy that's going to like push you over the edge if this happens? No? Okay.
I
Not
don't
for
think
me.
so. No.
I heard a long time ago constructive criticism.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's criticism, and really I don't even think of it as criticism, like advice almost.
Mhm.
Like I always think of it when you start a new job, you don't know everything, and so that training and that help from whoever is constructive, and it's helping you to understand and to do better at your job. And so that's something that I always bring up in my groups, is to have constructive criticism. So
Yeah.
That's good.
That comes from a place of
genuine.
desire to help and is genuine, like not like, well, she's just dumb and I'm going to tell her what it's all about, but you know, like I legitimately want you to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Anyway. Okay.
All right, next one. How does psychological safety in a team increase overall effectiveness? I put down that if we all have that respective relationship and we're really genuine like with each other, and as we get to know each other, you're happy to go to work, or you're happy to do the assignment, or you're happy to have the meeting, and it's more productive and goals are met and then exceeded.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier as well, is like having that trust within your teammates. I think just because I've been in environments where like I get to work and all I want to do is just leave. Like I want the day to end because I don't feel comfortable with the people around me. I don't feel comfortable doing anything because, you know, something could happen or they may say something, and it is really stressful on the person. And I feel like it gives me anxiety. I just cannot deal with that, and like
Mm-hmm.
it really bothers me. But like I've had other teams where like I'm, I feel happy and I'm happy to come to work and I'm happy to work with my coworkers and help them in anything they need. Or vice versa, we help each other. And I just, I feel like also falls into the managers or like whoever's the leader, like how can you observe within your team what is happening, not just ignore it and make it seem like nothing is happening. But I don't know, I'm more like I'm a very, I guess I observe a lot and I like to analyze in my head, and sometimes I've been right, because like I get a feeling, I guess, like whenever something is wrong. But I don't know, I always think about it, like if I ever become a manager, I think like I'm going to observe and like get to know the person, like what's really happening, because it might be that someone is like going off on people at work, but it could be that they may have something going on at home that we don't know about. And I guess that's where the empathy comes, like having that mutual connection with that person as to why this is happening. And I don't know, I've been studying like not studying but like learning a lot about psychology and all these things, because I've had past like traumas since I was little that I think have affected me. And like I just want to think about it as a person that's like suffering or like it's in a state of mind that's not well, and maybe that's why that person is acting that way. So I think just having the trust and that empathy with the person is very important.
Yeah, kind of going off of what you had said near the beginning of what you were saying. whenever I started a new job, I always immediately try to develop some kind of friendship or relationship with my coworkers, because I know that, for me, if I go to work and I'm just there by myself, I have no connections to anybody, work is terrible. But on the flip side, if I've developed these relationships with my coworkers, with my boss, then going to work is easier. It's not, as painful to go, even if it's an early morning or whatever. At least I know that I have friends there that will, be there to support me. And, that helps me in my work ethic. I'm sure it helps them and their work as well. And overall, we just all work better cohesively.
Yeah. That's very true.
I agree.
I was muted. So I kind of like Diana have worked at both spectrums, and went on different teams. Sorry, I have a tendency to wax poetic about my job because I freaking love it. So I apologize, and it's still a new thing and a new company and this amazing culture that I feel very blessed to work in. So I like, just tell me to shut up. We should make that a group norm of some sort. Like, Melissa, seriously, we're tired of hearing about your job, because I seriously do feel like it's a blessing. So I worked in wireless for 15 years, like forever. And sorry, my watch buzzed me. And horrible, like competitive environment, like totally toxic, horrible last boss that finally I was done, and took a layoff, actually. Like I just wanted to get out of there. And so in that place, there was no safety at all. The boss was completely undermining. He would tell different things to different people, and like in the matter of like 2 or 3 weeks, we were this like before a really cohesive team that talked and got along and did all these things together. And then in the matter of probably a month, it went from that to you're not sure where Arian was at. You're not sure what the boss is saying behind your back, because he talks behind your back to everyone, and you're not sure who's on what team. So you're not really sure who you can trust. And so it just became very like clunky. Where now, I had a conversation with my boss on Wednesday. I'm an executive assistant, and my boss is the CIO, and he was in a horrible, wretched mood, horrible. And I sit right outside of his office, and he's busy in meetings. And I had like 3 or 4 managers come up to my desk and be like, "Hey, would you mind asking Jim about this? I don't really want to talk to him today." And so I had this whole big list of stuff, and he's super stressed. And we have this like highly safe environment where I go in and ask my questions. And afterwards I'm like, "You need to check yourself. Like, you're really grumpy and you're like really taking this out on other people. So what can I do to help? And you need to take some breaks, to get out of this." But I mean, that's what kind of that safety creates, is a place that's open and you know each other, and you're able to kind of go, okay, what's going on? I think to Diana's point about empathy, like understanding what the situation is and other things like that. So we're able to kind of really have a heart to heart about like, yeah, you're right. Things are really bad, and I'm not looking forward to whatever it is that's going on next week with these trips. And you can call people out, and then it becomes constructive criticism. And what can we do to make it better? Which was not apparent in my last job at all. So anyway, I think it's huge.
You've got a
like,
better job now.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing. But anyway, it's night and day difference on how it works in a team to have that safety net. I thought I had it with one of my directors, and comparing like even the moderately safe environment to what I work in now, work gets done faster because we trust and think through positive intent and know that they're trying to do their best, and you just assume that. So instead of getting stuck up in all drama-ish, like problems at work, we just keep going and have empathy for each other. So
yeah,
I'll be quiet.
I think that you're good. I think that too plays into when you're comfortable with who you work with, you care more about your job, and so your work level just goes up, and you're able to get more done, and you really you know, you do care about your job and you care about the company, and so with you in that environment, it helps.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's huge.
the whole shebang.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, next question. What are the roles of communication and empathy in creating psychological safety? Kind of already talked about
Yeah.
some of them. I put down social cues. I think that's something that I really have to work on, working with all women. And then we talked about respect and being comfortable. Anybody else have anything?
Well, I think communication is completely key to having a healthy psychological environment at work. If you feel comfortable talking to your coworkers about situations or, you know, maybe how they're acting or anything like that, then that's a much healthier environment than everyone just bottling everything up and everyone being angry at each other or something like that, letting those emotions just build up.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the ability to take feedback as well as give feedback, when you are in that safe environment, it's less attacking and it's more like, no, Sarah, thank you. I'll go ahead and write that down and work on it. I find myself less defensive and more open to legitimately what can I do to be better. So
Yeah.
I think, well, I watched the video yesterday that caught my attention, and I guess like relating it to the workspace, like many of us have struggles, and like we had to be at work, but you have to change your face to be at work in order to make that happen. But I think that's also not healthy because then you're forcing yourself, your feelings to be hidden and, you know, not come out. And I guess this goes back to the whole thing that I've been trying to like learn about mental health and all these things. That, well, now I admitted that I struggle with it. But it's like if I go to work and I see one of my coworkers having a hard time, like, or as a manager, as a coworker, I feel like it's good to acknowledge that they may be suffering or that they may be going through something, and then try to see how you can help them. I guess, you know, kind of going back to what Melissa said about her boss. And I've seen this happen to managers too, like, you know, I don't know, an executive is there and you can see it on their face, like they're so tense, they're stressed, they're kind of scared, I guess, for what's happening or what's coming. Like the last company I worked at, there was so many changes that none of us were expecting, and it was scary for all of us. But I guess it's just going back to like acknowledging that maybe someone is going through something, and then, you know, trying to see how you can help them in any way.
Yeah. That's true.
I think it's also interesting that there may be different safety levels. There's the safety level like as a team as a whole, but then you may have different safety levels with people specifically on that team. And that may be something also that can draw energy out of a team or have a tendency to slow things down. I have one guy on our team that's fairly new. I don't get a really good read on him yet. And because I can maybe not express myself the most clearly and get a little rambly, people that I've worked with longer and have a higher trust situation, I just say it. And even if it may sound dumb, they're like, okay, well, we know Melissa is smart and we'll try to figure out exactly what this is. And so then we're able to clarify and go, where I don't have that safety level with that one director. So I have a tendency to avoid. I would never go up to this director and be like, you're being grumpy. Like, you're being rude and grumpy and you need to take a break. Like, I would never say that to him. Where I think like the others on the team, I'd be like, you need, like nicely, you need to check yourself. This is ridiculous. Not that I would actually say it that way, but anyways, that is kind of an interesting dynamic on the team for me at work, is just the interaction with this one director where I feel like I need to work on establishing that safety and getting to know each other better so that it's just a little smoother.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question says, how does sharing personal experience and being vulnerable influence team dynamics? And Diana and Melissa, you said it great, how understanding where that person might be coming from or why they're grumpy or upset that day can really help to see where they're coming from, and then you can help them within their day or the team.
That is true.
I think it also helps build that safety, right? As we get to know each other outside of work and do things together, that it builds that safety, that safe zone a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to building that trust with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of being human, is when you share a personal experience, and usually when you share it, it might not always be a good one, but still there's always somebody that can connect with that on some sort of level within your experience, and then it brings everyone closer together.
Well, and I think Diana was kind of talking about too that maybe for her mental health issues, which, honey, you're not the only one with mental health issues, by the way, so you're good. That now I lost my train of thought. Oh, sharing those kind of things, I think also may bring some insight into your behavior and reactions. So for example, with one-on-ones in my previous company, they were only when I had done something wrong and I was going to get my butt chewed. And so going into, this is like for 15 years, this is the only time I had one-on-ones. And so going into this new environment where they're legitimately trying to help you be a better person and a better employee, and they focus more on what you do well and what's play to your strengths, one-on-ones would seriously cause me anxiety every month. Like, it was this like 2-day buildup of just being paranoid that this is what it was going to do for like 1.5 years. And so eventually my boss was really frustrated with me because he's doing all the talking and I'm not really putting anything into this. And I did explain, like, you've got to understand where I came from, like one-on-one. And I explained that to him. And then he's like, okay, well, that makes sense, you know? And then things can kind of, sharing something personal like that then allows you to maybe change how you direct something or react to something. Instead of just telling yourself stories that this person legitimately doesn't care, they can kind of just see a different view of why you react the way you react.
Yeah. It can bring out people's strengths and weaknesses too.
Yeah.
It can help keep that balance. All right, so the next one, it just says any personal examples. You've given a couple. Anybody else want to add any more?
Of telling personal experiences?
Yeah, it
Or-
says, do you have any personal examples of this in organizations you are involved in? About sharing personal experiences.
Well, I've had a couple of work environments where, you know, I've gotten super close with my coworkers that we just have become friends both in the workplace and outside the workplace. And as such, I knew them, their social lives and, you know, things about them, and they knew things about me. And, you know, when you hit that level, then, you know, then you work really well as a team because you love being around each other.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. It's huge. Like I said, I have a tendency to go on and on and on because that's like where I'm at right now.
That's a good place to be comfortable and in that culture and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. It's a whole company culture, not just like my department. I don't know how many funerals I've attended in the last 2 years because it's like the company norm that if you can make it, you go. And to work at a place that literally like at least 2/3 of the building is just like, it's a small company, only 170 people, but 2/3 of the building is coming out to go to the funeral for a coworker's loved one. I mean, it's just pretty special. So it's, you know, just a great place that allows you to do that. My boss came over and helped me unpack when I moved to Omaha, like brought his family over.
Oh,
His
wow.
wife unpacked my kitchen, like, you know, things like that that just make it, they go over, like someone was like, I need to rip out carpet. And they're like, okay, well, when are you going to do it? And so then people go over and help rip out carpet and, you know, just crazy stuff. It's
That's
different
cool.
and I love it. So
That's cool.
just because of this stuff, like everything we're talking about today. So
Yeah. It's good that it relates back and that we have so many experiences.
yeah.
I have a silly one. I work with special needs and behavioral kids in
Mhm.
an elementary school, and we all have walkies and radios and stuff for emergencies or when we need help. And sixth season is here, and I can do throw up and blood, anything else but snotty noses. I get so sick. And so I can just bring a child into a room and say, "Can you please wipe his snotty nose?" You know, and then last week we had a kid throw up and they were able to radio and be like, you know, "Taylor, we need you in this room. There's throw up and the other para is dry heaving from the throw up." And it's just a good balance that we have, not even in that aspect, but in so many others as well, working with, you know, those kids and stuff. So
Yeah, that's cool.
it's fun. So I guess the last question is, what can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior? And I wrote down that I needed to look for those who might feel left out or for those that might not understand. We've had a lot of turnover this year at my school, and so there was very much a set culture, and they came in are here with very big personalities, and so it's been kind of like a shock and awe, and we're all just kind of going with the motions, and so we're really trying to make it more cohesive again and to understand and bring out those strengths and to find that mutual ground and the respect and everything. So that's just something that I needed to do.
That's good.
Yeah. I think something you can do is just always be friendly, help new people feel included, not feel, you know, ostracized from, you know, this norm that's already kind of been established. You know, be welcoming, be, you know, as I said, be friendly, let people, you know, feel like they can be a part of, you know, your group.
Yeah.
I work with the young women, so we have a lot of struggles with that, having them help, like, you know, any new girls that come into the class, or like, you know, just open up and talk to them. But they have like their little groups, and it's like, please, could you go and say hi? But I mean, yeah, I've experienced that at the workplace. And I've seen, like, I don't know, I guess some people are just shy and kind of closed, like, you know, they don't want to say the first words because they're like, no, if they don't speak to me, then I'm not going to speak to them. And I'm kind of like the opposite. I'm like, okay, whatever, like, I'll go and say hi on my own. Or like I try to start a conversation and like really get to know them. But like I said, I'm very, like, I observe a lot. And in the past I've had, because I work at the bank before, and I had someone working with us, and then I had the feeling that he was stealing. And I told the manager, I said, I think so and so may be stealing, because there was money getting lost every time. And so they ended up checking the cameras, and they find out that it was true. Then another, like I've had other instances with other like new people that come into the workplace, but they're just like, I try to make a conversation with them, but I get a feeling about it that just makes me kind of worry. And every time, every time I've spoken to a manager about like a feeling I have, it's been true. So I don't know what it is, but it's weird. But I mean, I've been able to like for example, I had a coworker who like would always get the worst customers, and like people would scream at her, like treat her bad. And I knew one day she was having a really hard time, and I told her like after work, like, hey, you want to go for ice cream? And we went, we talked. She even told me more about her life, and we just felt good overall. Like we've been like good friends even after I left my job, and like, you know, just getting to know each other. And I think that's the most important thing. Just get to know your coworkers and don't be afraid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I just put that if you want that behavior, you need to model that behavior. So whatever it is, if you want people to share personal experiences with you, then you need to open up and share them back. If you want respect, then you need to give people respect.
Mm-hmm.
If you like to work in a safe environment, then I think you also need to create that safe environment for others, and respect opinions and communicate professionally and all those other kind of things. Because you do have a tendency to get back what you put out. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Very true. I guess that's really it. The instructions wanted me to show you guys. Do you remember in the reading, the guy, his name was Matt, and his last name started with a S. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce it,
Mhm.
but he got his team together and they talked about personal experiences, and he said that he had a terminal illness.
Mm-hmm.
In his Twitter account, let's see. There was a link to it in the instructions, and it said, as of August 8th, that he had emergency back surgery and he's in rehabilitation. And after 2 weeks, he's headed home and needs to learn to walk again.
Oh.
And in the post, he said, I still consider myself the luckiest person ever. And I just thought that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
So thought I'd share that.
That is good. I mean, it surprised me that no one had, or like I guess that them as a team had not spoken about these personal issues, and like he was going through something so hard, and no one knew
Yeah.
what he was going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing how different people can handle different things, and it's amazing to watch.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
that is
Cool.
true.
Good for him. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
He also says a couple down that he was given 16 months to live 85 months ago.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It was cool to read through some of those links and stuff.
yeah.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Cool. The only thing left, Logan, are you able to take lesson 6 and lesson 9 for the leader?
Yeah, I haven't been able to hop on and sign up for them, but yeah, I can definitely do that. I've meant to, like right after this, I was going to go in and make sure I threw my name up on that. Those are the 2 that are open?
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
And so
You said,
everybody
was
gets
that
2.
8 and 9?
6 and 9.
6 and 9, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
That's cool with everybody. Awesome. I think that's it. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and
Thank you.
see you next Friday.
Yep. Have a good week.
Guys,
Awesome.
good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. See ya.
See you guys.
Bye.